I know so
Just
much more
ignore
about
that.
everything than you do, Bev. You know nothing about geometry. You don't even know what a tangent is. You don't even know the gradient of a curve. I mean, it's just incredible. You don't even seem to understand how you can the angle between two curves. I mean, you just don't know anything about the subjects on which you pronounce. It's incredible, really.
He's after another you don't understand, I think.
You
from
don't
Buster.
understand.
Anyway,
Do
I'll leave you with DP.
you don't
Question I asked him. So that's quite
understand?
nice. So I'll leave you keep on that. Just bear that in mind, future people. This
See you
is
later, Rumpus. Been
one-
good.
Yeah.
Nice.
See
Pop
you,
back at any
see you,
time.
Rumpus.
Next time.
Feel free to monologue as much as you like whenever you're here.
You can have a tangent to anything, including horizontal. It's not a terribly useful thing to do to horizontal. Probably, even a non-Euclidean situation, I think you probably couldn't do it. I think Bertrand Russell will be required to do that.
Was one never defined before Bertrand Russell came?
Not in a philosophical sense, and I think that's what you'd have to do. If you think you can't have tangents in non-Euclidean space, you're an idiot. Parallel lines will meet. You don't understand geometry. He demonstrated, he spent an entire book showing that 1 + 1 is equal to 2. Yes, Bertrand Russell, you moron!
You don't understand.
Yes, Bertrand Russell, you moron!
You don't understand.
I know so
Just
much more
ignore
about
that.
everything than you do.
It's not my problem if you don't want to learn. You're just on your own.
In mathematics, please define 1.
Yes, Bertrand Russell, you moron! I think Bertrand Russell would probably have to get involved to do that. Yes, Bertrand Russell, you moron! You don't understand it. You don't understand it. I suspect you don't understand if you like Bev. You don't even understand how you construct a tangent to a curve. You don't have to have a context for that. It's a pure abstract thought. No context required. Jeez. And of course you can't do any of that, Bev, because you can't do maths at all. So
Are you
got all
sure
excited.
you're okay now with what a tangent is? Are you sure?
Well, it does seem as though that it does have to be to a curve. So I
Yeah.
agree that we can have 1 + 1 is mathematics. That's got nothing to do with geometry. You twat.
Understand.
You don't understand a tangent.
You don't understand.
No, you don't understand anything.
It's not my problem if you don't want to learn. You're just on your own.
Well, I mean, you're just ignorant. I mean, you just know nothing about this subject. There's no point in talking to you about it. That's how little he understands about tangents. He's possibly one of the most important philosophers in the history of man. Yes, Bertrand Russell, you moron! But you don't understand it. You need to know lots about tangents and all the things you don't know, not what Euclid wrote down. Well, he was going to the basis of the foundation of maths and understanding. It's not useful. Bev can't do anything with the information what he does know. He can't do anything with it. He could not produce anything useful mathematically and use it to do something useful. All he can do is recite what's parrot-like, what's in Euclid. But no one uses that. It's not part of analytical geometry. You didn't understand what I was doing because you don't understand what a tangent is. You don't understand. I know so
Just
much more
ignore
about
that.
everything than you do. Yes, Bertrand Russell, you moron!
It's not my problem if you don't want to learn. You're just on your own.
That a tangent to a curve has the same gradient as the curve at the point of contact.
No reason, no logic, no wisdom, no worries.
You still don't understand that.
You're just on your own. No reason, no logic, no answers to questions.
Because you're stupid, you can only see everything in pictures.
You're just on your own.
Because you don't understand tangents, you don't understand curves, you don't understand gradients, and you don't understand the maths that use to do these things. The Euclid stuff is almost useless to modern mathematicians and people who want to do geometry because they have to do it with formulas and maths, and that's how they represent stuff in geometry, not the sort of basic Stone Age stuff that Euclid did. The fact that you've read up on some bloody
This is a
Euclidean definition,
tangent, Rumpus.
no one uses this archaic crap that you love to talk about because it's so simple. It's not useful in anything you wish to do anything. No one uses the Euclidean rules. They have to do it in what's called analytical geometry, where you've got coordinates and numbers, and you can't cope with any of that because you don't understand maths. I think Bertrand Russell will be required to do that.
No, was one never defined before Bertrand Russell came?
Not in a philosophical sense, and I think that's what you'd have to do. You don't understand it. You don't understand it. I suspect you don't understand if you like Bev. You don't even understand how you construct a tangent to a curve. You see, you're too stupid. You're not qualified to talk to me. Yes, Bertrand Russell, you moron.
You don't understand.
I know so much more about everything than you do.
It's not my problem if you don't want to learn. You're just on your own.
You don't understand it. You don't understand it. I suspect you don't understand if you like Bev. You don't even understand how you construct a tangent to a curve.
In mathematics, please define one.
I think Bertrand Russell would probably have to get involved to do that. Yes, Bertrand Russell, you moron! And all this is a mystery to you because you don't understand any maths at all. It's not useful. Bev can't do anything with the information what he does know. He can't do anything with it. He could not produce anything useful mathematically and use it to do something useful. All he can do is recite what's parrot-like, what's in Euclid, but no one uses that. It's not part of analytical geometry. I know so much more about everything than you do. The Euclid stuff is almost useless to modern mathematicians.
It's not my problem if you don't want to learn. You're just on your own.
Well, a tangent is supposed to be touching at one point, so obviously
But isn't it a straight line to a curved surface, Rumpus?
that's normally how you would use it, yes. I think Bertrand Russell will be required to do that.
No, was one never defined before Bertrand Russell came?
Not in a philosophical sense, and I think that's what you'd have to do. Because I know what I'm talking about and you don't. My God! You're even more stupid than I think it's possible. He was going to the basis of the foundation of maths and understanding. The Euclid stuff is almost useless to modern mathematicians and people who want to do geometry because they have to do it with formulas and maths, and that's how they represent stuff in geometry, not the sort of basic Stone Age stuff that Euclid did.
You don't understand.
The Euclid stuff is almost useless to modern mathematicians.
You don't understand.
Yes, Bertrand Russell, you moron!
It's not my problem if you don't want to learn. You're just on your own.
Science has got proof. Here we go. Rumpus, I knew Rumpus would be the guy.
No reason, no logic, no wisdom, no worry.
I did hear a question, yes, there's two straight lines, how can you
You're
then
just
close
on your
space?
own. No reason, no logic, no answers to questions.
I mean, okay, they do seem to be talking about it in terms of curves. So, I mean, it's obviously not useful to a
Oh,
straight
come
line.
on, Rumpus. You didn't just have to fucking Google a tangent, did you?
Well,
yeah,
Bev didn't know.
I was just checking.
Oh, you wanted to check? You wanted to check?
Okay. That's all right.
So you found it, right? So I was right what I said, the definition. So it cannot be something
They
else,
do,
right?
but they do talk about being. I mean, obviously, it's only useful in concept would be to a curve, but I didn't realise it was actually defined. They specifically used the word curve in the definition. At least that's the definition we got.
No
here.
worries. You learned something new tonight. If you didn't know it, no
Yeah.
worries.
Yeah.
We're all human.
Hello.
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 Hello, SE. You just.
Did you hear my question, Rumpus?
I did hear a question, yes. There's two straight lines. How can they enclose a space? I think probably even on something that's bending. I don't think there's a non-Euclidean shape that would enable. I think it always. make it bend away, parallel lines will meet on a non-Euclidean stuff.
Not
But
parallel,
I don't
Rumpus.
think that would be sufficient. Even if they met, you'd still need something else to enclose it. So I would probably, even a non-Euclidean situation, I think you probably couldn't do it.
Excellent. What? Rumpus? Wow.
Rumpus
it's pretty
doesn't
simple.
know much about what he's talking about.
I know so
Just
much more
ignore
about
that.
everything than you do, Bev. You know nothing about geometry. You don't even know what a tangent is. You don't even know the gradient of a curve. I mean, it's just incredible. You don't even seem to understand how you can the angle between two curves. I mean, you just don't know anything about the subjects on which you pronounce. It's incredible, really.
Did you
My
watch
dad's
the
stronger
video
than
we
your
went
dad.
over the other day, Rumpus?
I didn't hear that. You were overtalked by someone.
Did you watch the video we went over the other day?
No.
Oh. You should have done, really. Went
No, I
over
shouldn't.
the tangent bit at the beginning.
You don't understand a
go and
tangent.
check it.
Why should I
Well-
watch something? Why should I watch an idiot talk about something on a subject of which they know nothing?
Well, it was actually, we're reviewing something that it was you that was saying.
Oh yeah. Oh, okay. That sounds a little bit more interesting. Well, but you'll have come to the wrong conclusion. So
Okay, you said a tangent to a horizontal.
you do know that the artificial horizon in an aeroplane will change angle as you move along the surface of the Earth. It always keeps you to a tangent to a horizontal. No, I never. I was asked one question about a tangent by someone. It wasn't really. I've never volunteered such a thing. To a tangent to a horizontal. But the tangent to a horizontal. I mean, you can have a tangent to anything, including a horizontal. It's not a terribly useful thing to do to horizontal. To a tangent to a horizontal. Because that would be the same as the horizontal. So it's not something. It's not a useful concept in maths. So to a tangent to a horizontal, no one would bother to even raise it as an issue.
So you couldn't have a tangent to a horizontal then?
Well, you can. It's the same thing as the
You
horizontal.
can't have a tangent to a fucking
Yes, you can.
horizontal.
Well, if you want to say that the tangent...
Define it first, Rumpus, and you'll see you can't do it.
Well, it all depends, I suppose, whether a tangent is therefore intersecting it all along its line, and therefore it's actually sharing all its points with the horizontal. So I suppose you could argue. I mean, just like parallel lines on
You
top.
don't argue about geometry, Rumpus.
But you don't understand it. You don't understand
Say it out
geometry.
loud. Just say the definition out loud, Rumpus. Just say it
Well-
out loud.
Well,
What's
I mean,
a
obviously,
tangent?
a tangent is supposed to be touching at one point. So obviously,
But isn't it a straight line to a curved surface, Rumpus?
that's normally how you would use it. Yes.
So just saying that should automatically make you think of. Wait a minute here.
Well, I don't know. Well, I'm not sure there's a
How could
tangent.
it be to a straight line if the
Well, I
definition?
don't know. If the definition, I don't think it necessarily has to. Well, I suppose that part of the definition, whether what it touches is curved or not.
That's what makes it a tangent, Rumpus.
Would
Oh, come on, Rumpus.
it's not a use. It's not a use.
Stop
As I
trying
said,
to
it's not a useful.
pretend
It's not
you
a
know
useful
what you're
concept.
talking about, for
I
fuck's
know
sake.
so much more about everything than you do, Bev. You know nothing about this subject. The fact that you've read up on some bloody
This is a
Euclidean definition-
tangent, Rumpus.
No one uses this archaic crap that you love to talk about because it's so simple. It's not useful in anything you wish to do anything. No one uses the Euclidean rules. They have to do it what's called analytical geometry, where you've got coordinates and numbers, and you can't cope with any of that because you don't understand maths.
A tangent would never be used in any other context than Euclidean, because that's the only way the tangent is actually useful and also
You
defined.
can have tangents in non-Euclidean space. What are you talking about?
Yeah, you can say whatever you want. It works when you say,
You're just making stuff up. There's nothing.
Yeah,
no
yeah. When
restriction
you
on
do that,
non-Euclidean
then you
space.
have no restriction. Yeah, exactly. Go for it.
Go for what?
You said you're just making shit up. I'm saying go for it. Yeah, you can do whatever you want when you're just making
Well, no,
shit
I'm
up.
relaying to you how things are. If you think you can't have tangents in non-Euclidean space, you're an idiot.
I just agreed with you. You can do whatever you want when you make shit up.
You don't understand it. You don't understand it. I suspect you don't understand if you like Bev. You don't even understand how you construct a tangent to a curve.
No, he's right. He's right. You can imagine whatever you want.
I've even drawn it on screen, and Bev's not.
That's what I'm saying. I understand that when you're just making shit up.
No, you don't understand anything. No, you don't understand anything. I mean, Bev didn't even know when I drew a tangent for him. He got confused about where it was and what part of a line I was drawing had to make contact with it. He thought the width of the line was important. That's how little he understands about tangents. I mean, let's go and look at the definition of tangent. I mean, yes, I mean, obviously it's only useful in the concept of a curve, but whether or not that sort of trivial point, it's not useful. Bev can't do anything with the information what he does know. He can't do anything with it. He could not produce anything useful mathematically and use it to do something useful. All he can do is recite what's parrot-like, what's in Euclid, but no one uses that. It's not part of analytical geometry.
Can we call a triangle a circle?
No.
No. Okay. So how is it that we can call a tangent something that it isn't, which is a straight line to a curved surface at a point?
Okay, let's have a go.
Hold on, let me finish. How can you redefine it as two straight lines?
I didn't define it as two straight lines. When did I do that?
Well, you said a tangent to what did you say? To a plane?
To a horizontal.
To a horizontal.
Your question was about a horizontal.
Yeah. So how could a tangent be a straight line to a horizontal?
Well, it would be
it's defined as a straight line to a curved surface at a point. Rumpus.
Horizontals aren't curved, are they, Rumpus?
No, they're not.
No, so it can't be a.
So how could it be, Rumpus?
Well,
I mean, you've got to at least admit that, bro. I mean, come on.
Hold on. I'm looking at what the definition of a tangent. I know it's supposed to just touch at one point, but then the question is.
Look it up. Go ahead.
I mean, okay, they do seem to be talking about it in terms of curves. I mean, it's obviously not useful to a straight line.
Come on, Rumpus. You didn't just have to fucking Google a tangent, did you?
Well, yeah, Bev didn't know. I was just checking.
Oh, you wanted to check?
Okay. Yeah. Sorry.
So you found it, right? So I was right what I said, the definition. So it cannot be something else, right?
They do talk about being... I mean, obviously it's only useful in concept would be to a curve, but I didn't realise it was actually defined. They specifically used the word curve in the definition. At least that's the definition we got.
No worries. You learned something new tonight. If you didn't know it, no worries. Yeah. We're all human.
Here we go. Let's just control.
And you said nobody uses Euclidean.
Yeah, you don't use it. It's not analytical geometry. When you want to do something useful in geometry, you have to have numbers with it. And you don't understand how to do that.
Have you heard of Pythagoras' theorem?
That's analytical geometry.
It's Euclidean geometry, Rumpus.
No, it's analytical. It's got numbers and coordinates in it.
Proposition 47, Euclidean geometry. It could have been the triangle axiom, and they would have sorted Euclidean geometry as a rock-solid statement if they'd have put that there.
Analytical geometry is where you put numbers and coordinates on it. Then it's useful.
We're not talking about that. We're talking about Euclidean geometry, the foundations of geometry.
Yeah, but it's not it's not useful. You have to go to
It's
analytical
useful
geometry to do
because
useful
it's
things.
sort of the thing that tells you what a tangent
is. Part
is.
of analytical geometry. Now, whether it's also defining Euclid, okay, might be, but then you have to put numbers to it. Now, you've said yourself, there's no maths in Euclid. Have you not?
Geometry.
You've even made that statement.
Geometry.
Is there numbers in it?
There's no numbers. Did you think numbers is
or
maths,
variables.
Rumpus? Is that what you just did then? Did you think maths is numbers?
Well, it used variables.
Did you make a little slip there, Rumpus?
Well, I'm saying you don't like putting
numbers in things.
Do
you think maths is numbers, Rumpus?
No, I don't.
No, okay. So
but
geometry is maths, isn't it?
Geometry is not maths. Maths is much more than geometry.
But geometry is mathematics, isn't it, Rumpus?
Is geometry mathematics?
Ooh,
it's a branch of mathematics, I would say.
So it is mathematics.
No, it's a branch of mathematics. That what you've just done is to imply that it's the whole of mathematics. No, it's a part
It's the
of
foundations of mathematics.
No, it's not the foundations of mathematics.
A simple concept.
It's part of
starting
mathematics.
off with an axiomatic.
No, you can have 1 + 1 is mathematics. That's got nothing to do with geometry, you twat.
1 + 1 is meaningless without context, though.
No, it's not.
What's
context
one,
can be
Rumpus?
I'm adding two things together and I'm ending up with two things.
What's one?
I don't have to have a context for that. It's a pure abstract thought. No context required. Jesus.
You just gave me a context, though.
No, I didn't. I told you that 1 + 1 = 2. There's no context involved in that. It's an abstract idea. No context required.
Yeah, well, you would have to tell me what 1 is.
No, I don't. It's an abstract concept.
Because you can't. Elemental, innit?
Well, you can define things when you want to have an abstract idea. You
Go on,
define
define
what you want
one
to have.
for us. Go on.
You do it.
No, you.
No, you do it.
You said
No, you do it.
define things.
You're the one who
please.
brought it up. This is
No,
hilarious.
but you seem to think.
Just
you can't have an abstract. I'm just
define
interested.
one
Instead of
for
me
us.
having to do all the answers, I think you ought to
No,
provide one. For once.
you were the ones that said you could define it, Rumpus.
No, I didn't say that.
Mm-hmm. Go on.
I said it is defined.
One. It's the first one, Rumpus. It's the first thing. Just number one. One. In mathematics, please define one.
I think Bertrand Russell would probably have to get involved to do that.
Bertrand Russell?
Bertrand Russell, yes.
What, to define one?
Yes,
Are you sure?
I think Bertrand Russell will be required to do that.
Oh, was one never defined before Bertrand Russell came?
Not in a philosophical sense, and I think that's what you'd have to do.
You're gonna need Bertrand Russell for that.
Bertrand Russell for defining
You presume you don't know who Bertrand Russell was, yeah? I mean,
no, I'm not got a clue. Don't know.
No, you don't know. No, you don't.
Some dude, hey?
That's right.
Yeah.
Someone
that defined one. For
Yeah, he's important.
Can you remember how he defined it, Rumpus?
He demonstrated. He spent an entire book showing that 1 + 1 is equal to 2.
Right. Well, how did he define one in that book, Rumpus?
I can't remember.
Oh, what? Did you?
It's something
did you
to do.
Did you
I
read
think
the book?
He did it with group theories. I remember.
It took him
but
a
I can't
whole
remember the
book
details.
to define what 1 + 1 is 2.
He did. That was part of what his book was about, but that was essentially what it was about, doing things like that.
Wow, it sounds like a riveting book.
It was
a
regarded
whole
as a
book
very
for 1
significant.
+ 1 is 2.
It was a bit more than that, but that was what he was. I think what he was just basically trying to prove the fundamentals.
I bet he was a right head worker, wasn't he?
A what?
I bet he was a right philosophicalist.
He's possibly one of the most important philosophers in the history of man.
Give over.
Yes, you're ignorant again. You just demonstrate you know nothing about anything.
Bertrand Russell.
Yes, Bertrand Russell, you moron.
Right, no need to shout. It's okay.
I mean, obviously, he's needed to define one. I mean, that's true. That's very important. That.
Well, he was going to the basis of the foundation of maths and understanding. Well, he did all sorts of stuff.
He didn't do maths, Rumpus. Come on.
Well, I mean, you're just ignorant. I mean, you just know nothing about this subject. There's no point in talking to you about it.
Yeah, well, don't bother then. Hey, I'd best leave it if I were you.
But the thing about I mean, it is part. Yeah, the definition of a tangent does seem to be revolving around a curve. But you see, these are the sorts of archaic things that have no use to anybody because no one who actually deals with tangents.
Yeah,
I mean,
who
I've
needs
written programs.
Tangents and
No, everyone needs tangents because you don't understand what they are. But to do something useful with them, you have to take what's called using analytical geometry or calculus. You need to know lots about tangents, all the things you don't know, not what Euclid wrote down. The Euclid stuff is almost useless to modern mathematicians and people who want to do geometry because they have to do it with formulas and maths, and that's how they represent stuff in geometry, not the sort of basic Stone Age stuff that Euclid did, and the sort of empirical stuff. The only useful stuff you can do is with variables and maths representing geometric functions and operations. And of course, you can't do any of that, Bev, because you can't do maths at all. And you still don't understand what a tangent is. When I drew one for you, you got confused about where the tangent was to a curve that I was drawing.
Are you sure you're okay now with what a tangent is? Are you sure?
Well, it does seem as though that it does have to be to a curve. So I agree that. But that's
right, so you would agree now then, right? There's no way that straight line could be parallel to that curve, right? No way. It's not possible,
what straight
is
line
it?
Parallel to what curve?
The tangent parallel to the curve.
It's not parallel to the curve.
I know it can't be, can it? There's no possible way that tangent could ever be parallel.
It's part of the curve.
It can't.
You rejected it when I showed you how something was a tangent. It was part of the curve, and you didn't understand that.
It touches the curve at one point and one point only.
And I drew it on there, and you got confused about where the line was and where the edge of the line was, and you got confused and you didn't understand what I was doing because you don't understand what a tangent is. You don't understand that a tangent to a curve has the same gradient as the curve at the point of contact. You still don't understand that. And then you get excited about the thickness of the line because you want to do everything graphically. Because you're stupid, you can only see everything in pictures. And so when I tried to draw it for you, you got confused about the thickness of lines and didn't understand the concept. Because you don't understand tangents, you don't understand curves, you don't understand gradients, and you don't understand the maths that you use to do these things, which are absolutely crucial. And that's what Newton determined with calculus, how to work out the gradient or tangent of a curve at any particular point. And all this is a mystery to you because you don't understand any maths at all.
Rumpus has probably got me muted, so can somebody ask him for me what is the gradient of the curve at the intersection point with the tangent?
Gradient of the point.
For some reason, I don't have you muted, but that was a reasonable question. So you want to know how you
what the gradient of the curve is at the intersection point with the tangent line. That's all I want to know.
Get you a little diagram I've got here.
Just tell me what the gradient is, Rumpus.
It depends on the curve, doesn't it? The gradient.
No, it depends on the point, not the curve.
Yes, of course it changes with what the curve is. My God.
No, he said at the point where the tangent
it depends
meets.
What sort of curve you've got, what the gradient is at that point. My God. You're even more stupid than I think it's possible. Here we are. I'm showing you a diagram.
So each intersection point has got a different gradient.
Yeah, so... Well, no, there's only one intersection. Look, here on screen, I have...
I didn't mean each intersection point with the tangent line. I meant each intersection point...
in the chat, Rumpus.
There's only one intersection point.
Yeah, I know that, Rumpus.
Put it in the chat,
so
Rumpus.
Given the fact your question's stupid, I'll just show you a diagram that perhaps it might help you out.
Do as an arrow.
Just said it was...
Screenshot, Rumpus, please. Put an arrow and put here is the gradient.
Right, I'm sharing my screen to show you.
No, it's okay. Just do as a
screenshot. As per usual, you see, here we go.
Put it in the chat.
Whenever I try and show Bev a diagram to demonstrate there's a moron,
who are you talking to,
censors
Rumpus?
it so that you can't see
I'm not censoring it.
That's quite amusing. Every time you talk about people, you want people to come and contribute.
What you should do, Rumpus, if you want to put this out, you get a video and you video it, and then you put it out.
You actually want to censor people's
if you want to.
So that's fine. So
DP asked you.
You can ignore this, Bev.
DP, can you get us a screenshot of it and put it in the chat for us?
On my screen, and Bev can hide it and censor it all he wants, and I'll show you the people who are interested.
It was DP that asked you for it.
Yes, doesn't matter. Okay, whoever's interested in the answer. So here I've got a circle, and here I've drawn a tangent to a point, which and it's a circle. So here we have the point, and here we have the tangent to that point. And that tangent is only valid for this point. And obviously, we've drawn the gradient. I've extended the gradient of the circle at that point to make it clearer. So that is the gradient
the
circle at this point here. And if you pick another point, it'll have a different tangent and a different gradient. And
Why
Bev
does
doesn't understand this.
Where's his gradient?
This line here, this tangent has a gradient.
Yeah, I'm asking you what the gradient is, Rumpus.
Well, it depends on the point I pick on. So if I pick on here,
where's the
it has one
gradient?
gradient. If I go and pick a
Can
point
he
up here,
point
a
at
different
it?
one. So it's dependent on the point you're interested in.
Can he
And
point
it's
at
also
where the
dependent-
gradient
and
is
it
for that
also
point that
depends
it's
on
at?
the curve. I've chosen a circle here. If I were to do another wiggly line, for instance, here, if I were to draw a wiggly line here, and then I'd say, you could ask me, what's the
He always
curve?
draws a
What's
circle,
the gradient
doesn't
to
he?
this point here? So then
I mean,
I'd have
he
to
is
tell you
talking
that.
about
So you need
tangents.
two things. You need to know the curve, and you need to know
Okay,
the
so-
point on the curve.
So you've said that it is the gradient of the curve is parallel with the tangent, yeah?
No, it is the tangent, you stupid wanker.
But the
Listen to what I'm
tangent
saying.
is the gradient. You do
Yeah, that's
realise
what-
we know what we're talking about,
I
right,
keep on
Rumpus?
telling you this, and you don't absorb it.
Well,
The
He now
curve
thinks
might
the
be
is
telling
the
us wrong
gradient
then,
is
Rumpus,
of
the
right?
the
gradient.
curve at that point. But
Did
because
you-
don't understand this fundamental concept is why you don't understand tangents.
Did you absorb anything, Rumpus?
No, he doesn't do active listening.
Because I know what I'm talking about, and you don't.
You know nothing.
You see, you're too stupid. You're not qualified to talk to me.
You know nothing. Just
know
why you keep
nothing about
fucking
this subject.
shouting?
You're
Why are you
not
shouting?
qualified to
Answer
talk to me.
DP's question.
Qualifications
Well, I
to...
did.
Okay,
But
yeah.
the
Yeah,
answer
watch
I
out,
gave
Skeptical.
was
This
that
is
to
this is
work out
Rumpus. Do you
the
know Rumpus,
gradient
Skeptical?
of the curve,
Because like you
need
have to
know
watch
the
out. You
curve
treat
you're
him with
dealing
kid gloves.
You need the mathematical representation of it, and then you need to know the point you're interested in.
He's got
So
a
I've
rather
drawn a
big
circle
head.
here, and I've drawn
Gradient
the
of a point.
Yeah.
and there is the
The
gradient.
gradient
at
and the
this
point on
tangent.
the
here.
is the tangent.
And that is the
But
same
it isn't.
thing.
Like you know
as
we
the
know it
tangent.
isn't, right?
And that is the
Rumpus.
same as the tangent. And this is fundamental to maths. If you did
But he
maths
doesn't
beyond-
do active
If
you were
listening.
fu-
He's
if you
just
knew-
too
if
busy
you'd done the
talking
maths
to
beyond
himself
the
at
age
the
of
I don't think
moment.
he's even noticed that
If
you
you
have to
d-
put the X
if you-
and the Y axis on there
If you
before
don't
you can
know-
fucking
if
get
you've
a
done
gradient.
maths-
16, Bev, you would
Rumpus.
know this is
Rumpus, why is that
fundamental.
so
You
hard?
such you ridiculous.
You don't know. Well, you clearly, whoever just made that comment has clearly never
It's
done
the new
maths beyond
guy,
the age of
Rumpus.
16.
Please be nice. He's new.
Well, he's a wanker.
Oh
clearly
well,
never
see
done
there you go. I
maths
mean that's what
beyond
people
16.
get round when you come round here. Sorry, Skeptical, but
But you're a
yeah,
moron.
this is
Oh.
Rumpus. We don't
I'm
normally
describing
allow people
something
like this
that
in the
Newton
server. But
discovered. I'm describing
Have you
something
heard
that
of
Newton
Rumpus?
discovered,
and let him
and it's
just
taught to
fucking
every
hold us together.
16-year-old.
I've turned him down.
Yeah,
if
he'll
you,
just
if you've
run
had too
along
much
now.
of him, just turn him down.
He'll just go on. He'll just go on for hours talking
But
to himself now.
you don't understand basic
Yeah,
principles of maths.
he likes that.
Have you, Rumpus? Have you ever been to the real world or not?
The real world. Do you
Yeah,
know
he did.
what-
He ran away
do you
from
know
us when he seen
do you
us
know
on
what
the
calculus
bridge.
is, you?
He
Whoever-
went,
Yeah,
ooh,
yeah.
Bev DP,
Yeah.
bloods
Have you ever-
and
do you know what calculus is?
spot on
Whoever
the
asked me that
bridge. I
comment.
best run.
you know
Run,
what
run,
calculus is?
run,
Oh,
didn't you,
Oh,
Rumpus?
calculus, really, Rumpus.
Do you know what calculus is? Whoever
And then he
asked
went
that
into
question.
Jose's the following
Do you know
Monday
what-
and
do
beat
you
his
know
chest.
What calculus is? Whoever
No,
asked that
I don't have the
I'm
qualifications.
such a big
You don't
man.
know what calculus is?
Obviously, I have no
So you
clue
don't
what
know
anything
calculus
is.
then?
Yeah.
You don't know that I was
I have no
describing calculus.
qualifications, apparently, so
How
how do
could
I know
anyone
what...
know as much as
What the fuck,
Rumpus?
So you
Rumpus?
don't know basic calculus.
Nobody would know
Maths.
anything if
This is what
Rumpus wasn't here.
16-year-olds are
I mean, like he does lessons every week, you know.
on what 16-year-olds know.
No, listen, Rumpus.
This is what I'm describing to you is fundamental to maths
It's all right.
at the
You
age
can-
of 16 and younger. The fact you don't
Yeah.
know this and you think I'm somehow telling you rubbish
No,
means
no.
you are ill-educated. You've got the IQ of a root vegetable.
I didn't say that you're telling me rubbish at all. I'm just saying, if I know nothing and you know everything, and I never talked to you
I've never
before,
told you everything.
okay, well, you know everything that I don't know, obviously, right? Yeah, of course.
Clearly know a lot more than you do.
Yeah. But I never talked to you before, so how am I supposed to know this stuff? You know?
Well, I mean,
You've
okay,
never had
so
chance to
have you-
teach him before,
did
Rumpus.
you
Like,
do-
go easy on him.
Did you
Like,
do
you've
maths at
already told
16?
him he doesn't know, so now's your
I'm
chance to
asking
explain
you a
it.
question. I'm gonna
Surely.
find out exactly how much he knows about maths. Did you do maths at 16?
No, you teach him, Rumpus. You've already
No, I'm
told
asking
him
the
he
question,
doesn't
sir.
know.
I don't say what is math.
Do you know what calculus is? Philosophically, whatever you know.
You told me I have no clue.
Well, I'm asking you.
Yeah, but you already told me.
Yeah, what? So that was an assumption beforehand, Rumpus. Now you're sort of doing this the wrong way round. You should ask questions first. It's like active listening. Like he's not very good at this, is he?
Calculus is?
You told me I have no clue.
You know what calculus is. Stop deflecting.
Well, you know it way better than me, so why don't you teach me?
Yeah.
Stop deflecting.
Does he need to know what calculus is, Rumpus?
Do you know what calculus is?
Does he need to? Can you teach him what it is?
Do you know what calculus is?
Help him out, Rumpus. Come on.
Do you know what calculus is?
You can see he's struggling. Come on.
Yeah.
Why are you not answering the question?
Give him.
I don't even the word itself, calculus. Like, what are you talking about?
Start
Rumpus?
at the beginning for him, Rumpus. Right at the very beginning. Define one. There you go. Start there. Like, go on.
You're allowed to say you don't know.
Define one for him at the beginning, and then we'll work our way up from there. Yeah, he doesn't. Not got a clue. Go on.
Right, so you don't know what calculus.
Help him out.
Do you know how to work out the gradient? Well, clearly you. I mean, you. From what
Start at 1, and we'll teach him.
You don't know how to.
He doesn't even know what 1 is, Rumpus. Define it for him.
If I were to give you a function y is equal to x squared, could you tell me what the gradient of that curve was at any point?
Start at 1, Rumpus, at the very basics, and go easy with him as well.
Couldn't do that.
Like, go easy.
So Bev wouldn't be able to do, for instance, answer that question. He would not be able to tell me what the gradient of y is equal to x squared is at any point. I'm wondering if you can do it.
Oh, so you're bringing the x and the y into the gradient thing. Isn't that a bit late? Could have done that a bit before, couldn't you, Rumpus? When you didn't know where the fucking gradient was.
If you don't realise that was implied, then you are a complete moron. You see, this is it, Bev. You seem to.
You couldn't even point at it, Rumpus.
The rest of us assume that we're talking about this already. We don't have. We have difficulty.
Yeah, don't make assumptions, Rumpus.
Yeah.
Not within mathematics.
Surrogati, could you do that? I know Bev can't.
No. When we bring up assumptions, like I would also assume that we know what parallel means. You know, it works both ways. You know,
and straight as well. Don't forget about straight.
Number 1, of course.
What about a tangent?
Tell me what the gradient of that curve is.
He's only just learnt that a tangent is touching a curve.
I don't know if they can change it later, but when I read about the definition of the tangent and went over it, it was about the circle in specific. I don't know if.
No, you can have tangents to any curve.
Okay, yeah, well, yeah.
Right, so it sounds as though you don't know how.
So you need a radius then. You need a straight line first.
You don't know how to work out the tangent to a curve of a function y is equal to x squared. Okay, that's fine. But that's so. No, I was absolutely correct then in my analysis of you. You're not educated to a 16-year-old in this country, in the UK. I don't know where you come from, but in this country, if you're 16 and you start doing A levels, then you understand how to do what I just described. So 16-year-olds doing maths know more about maths than you do, and certainly know more about maths than Bev. And I don't know if other people in here would be able to answer that question. I don't know if Montreal would know how to work out the gradient of a y is equal to x squared.
You've already told us, Rumpus, nobody knows anything. You're the great Rumpus.
No, I didn't say that.
Yes,
and what worse is, you know, I don't know anything more now than we've just started talking either. He's not doing very good at teaching me.
Montreal, would you know how to do that?
He's not even started his lesson yet, has he? Unless he just goes around berating people for a bit first.
Okay, so do you know what calculus is, Montreal?
There we go, again.
I have basic understanding, but I'm not a math guy. I never liked math.
Okay, right. So I know. I was aware that Bev couldn't do anything with math.
Yeah, I haven't got a clue, Rumpus. Don't worry about me. You teach all of these lot. Don't worry about that.
I mean, you claimed at one point you can't use trigonometry to work out the angle of things. On one famous occasion, or was it about a year and a half ago, when you
Rumpus,
do that?
like a year and a half ago.
He doesn't even understand this because he has no clue, Rumpus.
Rumpus, let me ask you a question now. Do you think the knowledge of math can somehow bend a straight line?
Well, it depends what you define as a straight line. If it's the shortest distance between 2 points and you're working in spherical geometry, then it is curved.
That's a ridiculous statement. That's a contradiction of terms.
No, it's not. Well, imagine a football Imagine a football, and I was to draw some lines on it. The lines on it would be curved, wouldn't they? But they would also be the shortest distance between the 2 points on the surface of the football. So
but they're no longer straight; they're curved. Okay, agreed.
Hold on, Montreal. If you define a straight line to be the shortest distance between 2 points, and the surface you're dealing with is curved like that of a football, then the shortest distance between 2 points is curved.
Surely,
yeah, but it's not exactly. It's no longer a straight line, then, right?
It is. If you define a straight, hold on. If you define a straight line, this is non-Euclidean geometry, of course, being on the surface of a football.
Of course.
If you define a straight line to be the shortest distance between 2 points, that's the definition. Therefore, on spherical geometry, on the surface of a football, the shortest distance between 2 points is curved.
Yeah, but surely that's wordsmithing, because you know a straight line is a straight line. Now you can wordsmith
in a spherical
onto
geometry.
a football.
No, but Montreal did not see my reasoning. If you define a straight line to be
in Euclidean
2 points,
is this mathematical reasoning?
Yeah. But in
you
Euclidean geometry,
definition, yes.
Right, so there we
Rumpus,
are.
I agree with you. If you change the definition of a straight line,
no, I haven't changed
then
the
yes,
definition.
you can make it curve. Yes.
No, Montreal, the definition of a straight line is the shortest distance between 2 points.
Well, surely the shortest distance between those 2 points is through the sphere.
Not if you can only move on the surface. If you're dealing with the surface geometry of a
sphere, are there roadblocks? Are there restrictions? Red tape. I can go through the red tape.
And it's very useful to have a geometry that does this, because there are many occasions when you are moving on the surface.
To have a geometry.
And therefore,
how do we have good on them?
And therefore, when you're only allowed to move on the surface of a curved surface, the shortest distance between 2 points, as defined, which defines a straight line, is a curve. But obviously, in Euclidean geometry, where we don't.
In reality, Rumpus, that's where we're talking about.
Well, if you define the reality as in our 3D world, then yes, then the shortest distance is, well, actually, in our reality, it's actually 4D space, and you've got space-time.
Wow. Space-time, wow. Of course, we'd have to, wouldn't we? Fancy us forgetting about space-time.
3D, shall
measuring a distance.
Our reality is 4-dimensional, not 3.
So you agreed, Rumpus, that the definition of a straight line is the shortest distance between 2 points in reality, right? The only way that it can curve is if you place it in non-Euclidean reality, like, for example, on a football.
Yes.
You agree?
Or in 4D.
Okay, perfect.
Excellent. It's really good.
Wow. This is amazing stuff.
Yeah, and everybody would. I mean, it's not about you personally, but certainly people like Bev has not understood these concepts, and people.
He's always said that.
Repeatedly.
Bev has always said that.
No, he hasn't. He hasn't understood that a straight line in non-Euclidean geometry is curved, because no one's ever been able to. He's all going to mute people, censor them.
Rumpus, you can have it being anything you want in your imagination. That's what we've been telling you. Saragaki told you that at the beginning.
You're going up, in my opinion, I have to say, Montreal. You've now picked it up. You've understood it all, and you're away. So well done.
Rumpus, listen.
Oh, this is priceless.
I've been saying this all along.
No, Bev has not
somehow you
understood
misunderstood him.
No. Bev has not understood this.
In reality, a straight line can only be straight.
No, that's different. No, hold on. In reality, we live in a 4D space, and therefore, if you're near a black hole, for instance, space-time is very curved, and a straight line would be curved. We live in a 4D
straight line turns into a spiral.
You went out into La La Land.
Well, I'm afraid we live in 4D world. I know it's difficult to understand, and we didn't understand it until Einstein described it 100 years ago. So it is a difficult concept, and indeed the maths associated with it is very complicated, and it's difficult to understand. And given the fact that you already admitted you didn't really like maths and didn't do it, the concepts are mathematical.
I didn't say I didn't do it.
Yeah, he didn't say he didn't do it.
Well, okay, but you didn't. Okay, you haven't done calculus, though, have you?
Active listening, Rumpus. Give it a try.
Well, hold on. Well, if you did calculus, I don't know whether you've got an American idea what the word calculus. I know Americans misuse the word, but calculus in terms of what differentiation and integration. Do you know what differentiation and integration are?
It's only Rumpus will know about this. Right, don't worry about it. It's calculus as in Rumpus.
Trying to clear up whether you understood calculus. Do you understand what differentiation and integration are?
What does that have to do with a straight line?
Right, well, hold on.
Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Rumpus doesn't know. He's got caught in a trap where he doesn't know what calculus is.
Rumpus, if it'll make you feel better, I yield to your superior knowledge of mathematics. How's that? Can we continue now?
But I want to know what you knew, not what I know. And calculus is sometimes used by Americans. I mean, Obama sometimes uses the word calculus when he doesn't mean that what we in Britain would call calculation.
What does calculus have to do with 4D, with time, space-time, Rumpus?
What does Obama have to do with a straight fucking line?
I did tell you earlier, but you've forgotten. I said that without understanding calculus, it's difficult to understand 4D space-time.
So you're going to tell me now that you're going to...
It's difficult to understand 4D space-time without calculus. It's like, I'm all right. Just deal with reality, Rumpus. Come on.
I'm afraid. If you just say we could repeat that, please.
The shortest distance between two fucking points.
You're being overtalked again, Montreal, I'm afraid. Sorry.
How does the shortest distance between 2 points change if I know calculus or not, Rumpus?
Well, calculus... If you understand calculus, you'll understand space-time. Well, not necessarily, but it'll help you. If you don't understand calculus, then you don't really understand what space-time's all about.
Oh, I fully understand what space-time is all about.
You fully understand space-time.
As much as you, I bet.
I don't think you do, because I've got a book on general relativity. You understand space-time, you need to understand general relativity and the Riemann...
Apparently you got a book on surveying, you don't understand fuck all about it.
You have no chances in Montreal, you don't have the same book that
Rumpus does. You don't understand anything about anything. I mean, you're a moron. The fact that you talk about things on surveying, and you clearly have never read a surveying
Leave your
book,
bigotry out of it.
And I do understand.
Be all right.
But to understand 4D space-time, Montreal, I'm afraid I think you're being a little bit conceited here, because it does...
Coming from you.
Let me interrupt you for a second. I just gave away this Christmas, a good friend of mine, his son was interested, and I gave him one of the only copy I have of The Brief History of Time by Hawkins. I read that book 25 years ago, Rumpus.
Yeah, but that's not got it's not got an explanation of how the way general relativity in space-time works.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, I think
have
he only
you read
had
it?
4. Yeah, I have. I mean, it's only got 4 or 5 equations in it.
How many times have you read it?
Twice or something. But it's
only twice.
It's not a textbook for understanding space-time.
Rumpus, don't try to act smart, bro. Listen. We have various degrees of education. Hold on. Don't try by saying you're educated that you can bend a straight line and tell us we don't understand math.
Well,
you cannot. You said it yourself. The shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line.
That's the definition of a straight line, and that can be a curve.
It can't be a curve because that's a contradiction of terms, Rumpus.
If the surface that you're working on is like this, you've agreed. Oh, and you don't go backwards on me, Montreal. I thought you got that. If the surface you're dealing with is the surface of a football, then the shortest distance between 2 points is a curve.
Which is not straight.
Do we live on a football? Do we live on a football?
Well, we live in a 4D space. We live in a 4D world in which you have equivalent situations to that.
You see, you're bringing 4D now. You're introducing something else. You're cheating, Rumpus.
No, we're not. If we live in a 4D world, we have to talk about reality.
We do talk about reality, Rumpus.
We don't live in a 4D world, Rumpus.
We do, and we can show this. That's why Mercury has the orbit it does. That's why time changes as a result of GPS, which they have to allow when they're doing GPS. They have to allow for time dilations.
Wow, serious model affliction.
Fantasy world here.
Gone on ramble fucking mode. Well done.
Rumpus.
Montreal, the whole world in there you don't understand.
Press the you don't understand button. Come on.
It's reliant on the bending of space-time. It's reliant on the 4D world.
Wow.
Bendy
space-time.
It's just your ignorance subject.
No, I understand. You're talking about time dilation, Rumpus. I know your story. I know your game, bro.
The 4D nature of reality.
He's saying calculus allows him to do this.
You have no clue about the nature of reality. You have no clue.
By the bending of 4D space-time.
And that you do you do this with calculus? Do you? Rumpus?
yeah.
Do you have to know calculus to
Yeah.
figure that out?
Yeah. Get your draft.
Which book do you have, Rumpus? Calculus.
You're not equipped to understand what I'm saying, unfortunately.
Can you bring me a bucket of bendy space time?
Is there any way you could equip us, Rumpus? Do you think you're capable of equipping us?
Can you bring me a bucket of bendy space time?
Well, that's saying like give you a bucket of x coordinates, obviously. Yeah, you're stupid and thick, aren't you? Yeah. It's like give you a bucket of x coordinates. How can I do that, you twat? You're a moron, aren't you? You're just advertising how stupid you are. Well done.
Let's not descend into that.
You're
So
making
Rumpus,
it clear to me how stupid you are.
Rumpus,
a
please.
bunch of
descend into that.
I can't hear you, Montreal. Someone's over talking you.
I'm saying let's not descend in the name calling. You must understand why we make fun of the fabric of space-time. You can't just say there's something called time, which is a convention, and space, which is the stuff between me and you, and say bam, and now we have a fabric. That's ridiculous, Rumpus.
But it's not. You seem to think that Einstein or whoever the people who deal with it just make this up and think, oh, that'll do. This has been tested and tested again in the real world. The orbit of Mercury, the change in
bendy space-time.
We see the time dilation taking place in the real world.
What, for the lights in the sky, Rumpus?
So you have to be denying
like
things
what?
that you're seeing that have been experimented upon.
You don't see. What do you see, Rumpus?
We see this in the
You
real
find it,
world,
Rumpus.
Montreal. We see this in the real world.
Rumpus, they tell you there's 2 cesium clocks up there that differ by 1/1000th of a second, and you believe it, Rumpus. That's all it is. I know your story, bro. I know your model.
Well, you don't. Well, you know the brief superficially. You might know bits of it, but the people who design these things do indeed tell you, but you just simply your ignorance. I mean, all you're just saying is you don't understand it, therefore you're going to reject it. But the people who have to deal with these things and the engineers who do it have to allow for time dilation.
Where was I wrong in my statement? Rumpus, tell me, where was I wrong in my statement that I said in the satellites they use cesium clocks
That's right.
to determine time dilation by 1/1000th of a second or so? Where was I
What's the
wrong in
definition of a? What's the definition of time? What's the definition of time, Rumpus?
Definition of time.
Oh, he's got to Google it. He's got to Google it. You stumped him.
The
Well
definition
done.
of time. I would have to think about that to give you a proper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You wouldn't know about. Tell him he wouldn't know until you tell him.
Well, he doesn't know very much.
He doesn't know. Yeah.
This
Well,
should
I'm
be
not
interesting.
actually. I'm not going to bother to Google that one. Well, I could.
Yeah, go on then. Go on. Yeah.
Okay, I'll go.
Why not?
See if I can
You don't have a tab on time? Come on, Rumpus, you're slowing down.
He will. It's like he's learning now.
I thought you might.
It might come up in the future, Rumpus. It might be worth having a look over it.
I mean, there's obviously lots of sort of waffly ways of describing it. I thought you presumably want to sign definition. I mean, they just I
think it's a good one. If Rumpus has never been asked for the definition of time before.
Of events. I mean, obviously that's the obvious bit, but I was trying to give you a more scientific definition of time.
Well done, that man. See, he's a new guy, Rumpus. I mean, new guys bring in new questions like that. You've never been asked what the definition of time is.
Not terribly. I mean, the thing is, if you keep on saying,
it's like you don't know.
It's called regression. If I say to you, how do you?
I think Rumpus has just admitted he doesn't know what the definition of time is.
You can just keep on asking,
Google it.
Why is that? Why is that? It's very easy to keep on saying, why is that? Why is that? Why is that? It's not clever.
Or you can accept it, Rumpus. You have 2 options. Accept what they tell you or say why. Which do you choose?
Well, there are lots of very clever people who've worked on this subject over many hundreds of years who've come to a conclusion about the way things work, and I am not as clever as them, and I haven't built on I can only read their work and then relay it to you, and it makes sense to me. I can see how it does work, but there are lots of very people who are much more clever than I.
Are you like a savant, Rumpus?
It's just not real.
He must be.
He's like a savant. You can just see it.
Clever.
So let me tell you this, Rumpus. Tell me if it makes sense for you, okay? You have one brother here, and you have another brother, and you send them into a fast-traveling
You're about to talk about
plane.
the twin paradox, are you?
Yes. Do you
Oh,
honestly
don't
believe
take
that
Rumpus
one
to
brother is going to
space.
age slower than the other? Does that
Yes.
make logical sense to you?
We've got proof of this. We have got the ability to check that things age more slowly. We have time.
Did he say proof?
Let be quiet.
What proof?
Ooh, proof.
We have measured. If you can measure things inside accelerators and see that they age more slowly.
Science has
Similarly,
got proof.
We can show.
Here we go. Rumpus, I knew Rumpus would be the guy. Essie, go. Don't miss out on this one.
Stop being a wanker and let me finish my sentence.
That's just
We have got experiments that demonstrate this, Montreal. I mean, you're claiming you're just going to dismiss the experiments and observations about the change in the cesium clock period, but that is what happens in reality.
I didn't ask you the cesium clock, Rumpus. I asked you the brother thing. The cesium clock can be shown that it's 1 billionth. Let's say they can measure 1 billionth of a second and they show it, right? But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the two brothers. You actually think that one person can age slower than another because he's traveling?
Yeah. That's because it's exactly the same thing as the time dilation that occurs in GPS.
I don't know what to tell you, Rumpus.
I mean, you just simply extrapolated. I mean, the example they tend to give is if you accelerate up to something like 90% of the speed of light and then you do it for 25 years or something, you'll come back and you'll have aged by, I can't remember what it is now, by several hundred years instead of the 50 or something you've been away. But that's just an extrapolation of the things that we see in GPS. It's just a matter of multiplying the numbers. It's exactly the same effect.
Rumpus, you're so clever.
I'm more clever than you are, but that doesn't make me
No.
clever.
You're so clever.
Well, I'm glad you think so. So, Montreal, we see this effect, and it's just a matter of multiplying it up, and you get the effect that they're describing in the twin paradox. I'm afraid it's based on observations that we see in the real world and we can measure, and GPS relies on it.
Only clever people.
Rumpus, if you want to believe that, you have to respect those somebody's right like mine to say no freaking way, right?
Well, there are lots of... The GPS is just one example of this phenomenon. Physics books are full of... I've got several physics books which describe this in detail mathematically, and it all works because we can do things like build computers that rely on quantum mechanics.
Yeah, like the impressive library Rumpus.
And all the effects they describe work out in the real world. So I'm afraid they've been tested, whereas your ideas have not. Your skepticism is just based on your ignorance.
Turn it back on Essie to call him ignorant.
I mean, you're just saying, no, you know nothing of this subject, yet you feel, I mean, this is Dunning-Kruger, you know nothing of this subject, yet you feel you're able to dismiss it. I'm sorry. That's
you mean that one I explained to you in detail
Only
about how it
people.
works, that subject, Rumpus? The one I explained to you about the cesium...
No, that's not explaining how it works. You described to me the effect. That's not describing to me how it works. You have not described to me how it works. And to do that, you would have to understand the equations of special relativity.
You have to be
have to understand the equations of general relativity. And you've not done any of those things. All you've done is to describe the effect.
Oh, he understands them.
How does a straight line work, Rumpus?
I've explained that.
No. How does a straight line work? How does a straight line work, Rumpus?
It's defined as the shortest distance between 2 points.
How does that work, Rumpus?
Well, see, you're just doing the classic, how does that work? How does that work?
No, because you just things and list.
And ultimately, you'll get back to some philosophical point about the nature of reality. I mean, it's not very clever. It's a classic line that idiots do when they're quizzing someone. They just simply, whenever they give them an answer, say, well, how do you prove that? How do you prove that?
I'm asking you.
And eventually you end up
same tactic,
the nature of reality.
doubling back
it's not
to calling him an idiot.
Did he come up with a proof?
Calm down,
No.
Tone it down a bit, Rumpus.
I missed that. I went to the toilet.
I'm asking you, what allows you to say that a straight line is the shortest distance between 2 points? What allows you to say that?
Because it's a definition, and you can define something, and then that definition is there, but therefore true. If I decide the word wibbly wobbly is to stand on one leg while playing a mandolin, that is then true. I've defined that to be the case. So if I define the concept of a straight line to be the shortest distance between 2 points, it is the shortest distance between 2 points because I've defined it to be so.
Can it be shorter?
I mean,
could you define it to be shorter than the shortest distance between 2 points?
Talk to me. You don't understand the idea of definitions, do you?
Yeah, but I'm saying, Rumpus, Could you define a straight line as being not the shortest distance between 2 points?
Well, I could do that. I could define in my own personal lexicon. I could define that's what Australian, but the
like
accepted definition. So I could come up with a definition of my own, and I could say.
Who gave you the authority to do so?
Well, we can all do
Rumpus.
that. But the point is,
Who gave you the
anyone
authority?
can do it. Look at that. He's been reading Bertrand Russell. Don't worry about him.
We all have whatever we like. But the point is that would not agree with the acceptance.
You are a joke.
My definition would be different.
He's one of the smartest globe earthers there is. If you dare you say Rumpus is stupid,
is a useful definition, and
ignorant,
do useful things with it. My definition would not, if I were to have what you suggested as defining a straight line, would not be a useful definition and would not be used in textbooks and things to do useful things. Like,
can't you have like a straight line being a straight line and then you try and define it as it is? Like, start off with the straight line and
that's gibberish.
That was just gibberish. We're defining the straight line as the shortest distance between 2 points is defined as that. That is
because that's what a straight line is, right? Everybody knows that's what a straight line is.
By definition.
But why, Rumpus, is that a straight line? Is my question. Don't you see? How does a straight line work, Rumpus?
And you didn't understand because you're stupid.
He can't tell you.
Calculus book at obviously.
Definition is a foundation, and you can define things whatever you like. And you haven't understood anything I've said for the last 5 minutes because you're a moron.
You can just make it
however you like. What?
Yeah. Anything I like.
No, I've not read Bertrand Russell, Rumpus. Like, not everybody's read Bertrand Russell.
In my definition,
not everyone thinks Bertrand Russell is a mathematical genius like you. Redefining one for people, and nobody knew what one was until Bertrand Russell came along.
Bertrand Russell for
recognise that was a useful definition I came up with, and they'd use it. But anybody can come. I mean, this surrogati guy's an idiot, and he can define whatever he likes. But no one would care because they would be not useful definitions that he'd come up with. He still doesn't understand what a definition is. I mean, the guy's a moron.
Wow.
I'm asking you how a straight line works, and since you don't understand what I'm actually asking you, even though I'm spelling it out for you, put in a state, you don't understand the question, so that's why you're calling me a moron.
Just a minute, Saragaki. Rumpus, this is bad. Rumpus, Saragaki has got a bad mic whenever somebody else starts talking. It cuts his mic, Rumpus.
Well, I think that would spare us.
Is it intentional? Is that why you do it?
No.
Right, well, if Saragaki is talking, please
he's made the same
give him some space for him to be able to talk. Don't overcut him like you do with me and everybody else. It's okay, because nobody can hear you when I'm talking. I'm the one recording it. Unless you're recording it, Rumpus. Are you recording?
No.
No. Are you piping it through to anybody else listening?
No.
No? Just for yourself, then?
Yep.
Okay. Well, can you please let Saragaki hear? Because I want to hear what he's saying.
The same thing. He's now asked 6 times, and I then have to give him a...
And you've never answered him yet, once.
And it's getting a bit tedious.
Because you don't know how a straight line works.
Because he's stupid. Ultimately, I'm going to get bored of him in repeating the same question.
We get bored of the ad homs, Rumpus.
Yeah, but I get bored of you being a moron. And
well, again,
what a tangent is, and you not understanding what analytical geometry is.
That's not going to work, Rumpus, is it? Obviously not.
You don't understand how to work out the tangent to the function y is equal to x squared. You can't do that because you don't understand calculus.
Well, no, you put the y and the x axis in.
Can I say something to Rumpus before I leave?
Go on.
Rumpus, right? I've been listening to you. You are an absolute moron.
Well, you're not qualified to have an opinion. You're too stupid to have an opinion about this. You're too stupid to understand how stupid you are.
He's gone, Rumpus.
Yeah, no, but this is just typical. When someone doesn't understand something's being said,
Rumpus, he's gone. He can't bear to listen to you.
Well, fine. He's a moron. Who cares? I mean, you're a moron. Who cares what your opinion is? You don't understand.
Why'd you come here then?
You don't understand.
Rumpus, why did you come here?
You can't work out what
did you come here for? You didn't come here to give anybody a lesson on anything.
He's asking you a question, Rumpus. I've never heard of an intelligent person coming into a place where he agrees that everyone's a moron, calling them a moron, and then continuing to act like you do.
You don't actually give any information, Rumpus.
You've experienced that then, Rakia.
No, you're just coming here to call people morons. You sound ridiculous.
And then
you don't sound
shit.
like an intelligent person. You do not. Intelligent, high IQ people do not act like you ever. No, they don't. No, they don't. No, they don't.
What you're getting confused is when intelligent IQ people are dealing with people who are willing to learn.
They wouldn't come here. They wouldn't. If you had a high IQ and you were intelligent, and you knew everyone here was a moron, you would not come here.
Right, let me explain. Okay, that's an interesting. You're making a.
Or you might come trying to educate people. Like you come with something to educate with. Rather than just ad homs and insults.
Having to explain things, even something like basic geometry or the shape of the Earth, is actually quite intellectually demanding. So that's why you get intelligent people like George and Bebby coming in here, explaining things. So it's actually quite challenging to explain quite simple things well to stupid people. It's actually intellectually demanding. So that's why people engage with morons. Even though they know they're morons, it's not from the trying to get the moron to particularly people who are not interested in learning. It's the exercise of trying to formulate a concise and correct explanation of things you might not have thought about. So, for instance, about geocentrism, if I'd been asked, I don't know, 5 years ago, how would you prove that the Earth is not the center of the solar system? How would you go about doing that? Or how you would prove the shape of the Earth? I'd have to think of her a little bit.
Rumpus, piss off with your Earth-obsessed shape thing.
Nobody cares, Rumpus.
Well, then why? Well, you're a flat earther, so I don't know why.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are. If you believe horizontal is level, you believe the Earth is flat. You presumably agree.
Rumpus, we can practically demonstrate that there are changes in elevation, therefore the Earth is not flat.
We know there's topography, moron.
So stop with your straw man, you absolute fucking retard.
Do you think canal 7,000 miles long would be horizontal?
Show me a canal 7,000 miles long.
That's not the point. If I had a canal 7,000 miles long, would it be horizontal?
Show me one.
I want you to tell me the principle. If there were one to exist, I don't
show me one.
I'm asking
show me one and we can measure it, Rumpus.
Of the way things work.
Show me a canal 7,000 miles long and we can measure it. We can measure it. Show it to me.
Why are you deflecting? So do you think
show it to me. Show it to me, Rumpus. We can measure it together.
Would it need to be 7,000 miles long?
No, I don't think it would be.
If you're from your understanding of the way the world works, I want you to tell me whether you think a canal 7,000 miles long would be horizontal.
Show me a canal 7,000 miles long and we can measure it together.
You need to be drawing upon your ideas.
We can measure it together, Rumpus. You show me where it is.
You can't even imagine a canal 7,000 miles long. How many locks would it have, Rumpus?
But the answer will show that you're a flat earther.
How many locks do you think it'd have?
None. So we're talking about a stationary bit.
No.
We've got to imagine a 7,000 mile canal without any locks on it.
I'm asking you to imagine that situation, and I'm asking you whether that would be horizontal.
I can't believe I haven't read the same books that Rumpus.
There definitely wouldn't be any elevation changes for 7,000 miles, would there?
Definitely not.
Wow, that'd be amazing. Where would that be? Where would there be somewhere we could have a canal that's 7,000 miles long without any elevation changes?
Of that situation.
Can you think of anywhere, Rumpus?
Are you not capable of conceiving that situation?
Might it go round in a circle for quite a long way, right? That'd be the better way.
Described as a thought experiment. You, with your way of thinking, would say that.
I struggle to understand how Rumpus is going to measure anything without having an understanding of what a straight line is.
Just define it. Define it.
You just say it's whatever, you know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
you clearly. I mean, you've.
He could define the distance as well, couldn't he?
So
he could just
notice
redefine
you
the
haven't-
distance. Like, I'll define
so
that as
hopefully the panels
100.
recognise
So maybe
I'll
from
redefine
one
that
end-
canal as
Exactly what
7,000
they've done.
miles. You could do
And
that.
Yeah, one end of my road to the other
refuses
could be
to answer the
7,000 miles
question
according to
because he
Rumpus.
thinks it will incriminate
Just
him.
define
so
it.
that's no. So he's being dishonest here, as per you.
Rumpus, you're
He
such a
doesn't want to
tit.
answer the question.
Incriminate
You see what
me.
you're doing.
What is this, a criminal
Seeing
court,
what
is
you're
it?
doing,
You
and you're
fucking
worried
idiot.
about incriminating
He's
yourself.
talking to his crowd
Incriminating.
there.
So you're
Yeah,
trying
he's
to
grandstanding.
mislead people here.
Yeah,
and we
he
can all
is.
see what you're doing, DP, because you're a wanker.
It's like
You're
in,
a
did you-
wanker,
You're a
and we can
fucking
all
idiot.
see what
Piss
you're doing.
off.
I don't know why you think you're
It's like that. Did you see the first season of Pokemon when it came out on TV?
Yes, Rumpus, if you like.
Oh, I muted them. Yeah.
Rumpus, the only people listening to this are in this room.
Well, unless he is actually piping it through to his crowd
Obviously
of
he
people,
is.
whoever he is.
Yeah. Obviously he is.
Do you reckon he'd have George or have you got
Betty.
listening in the background? Yeah, you've got to have
You've got to answer the question, DP.
Betty. Betty's
Betty. Ooh.
I reckon Betty's there.
Oh well, given the fact not going to answer the question, I think I'll be off then.
Yeah, fuck off,
Okey-dokey.
Rumpus.
Yeah, so yeah.
Thanks
you
for
just
popping by.
Bear in mind, you didn't answer the question, and we all
XCO,
saw
you
do it.
didn't.
Well, show
you
me-
didn't define one for us, Rumpus. We
Yeah.
all we heard was the fact that Rumpus
You
couldn't
didn't
even
show me
define
a
what
7,000
one was.
mile long canal either.
Didn't know where the gradient of a curve was.
Yeah,
You didn't
at
know.
the tangent
yeah.
point.
To everybody in this panel that you didn't want to answer the question for fear.
Well, we did actually
Rumpus.
go over the gradient of the curve at a point, at the tangent point. Yeah, we.
No, you
we-
didn't. You did.
Yeah,
you
yeah, we
agree
did.
with the diagram.
Oh no, we did it the other day, Rumpus, as a
Well, you
group.
wouldn't have got it right.
Yeah, yeah, of course it is. That's
you
how
didn't
we
agree with
know
my drawing of a
you
tangent
got
when I
it
showed you.
wrong,
I
Rumpus.
didn't get it wrong at all.
Of course you did.
There you are. In fact, you've just demonstrated you don't understand it then.
Yeah, we did.
Oh,
We told you
fuck's
about
sake,
the X and the Y
Anything
axis
about
first. We
geometry
did
and maths and
definitely
curves.
said that, Rumpus.
Rumpus,
I
do
know
yourself
you
a
don't
favour. Just fuck off,
There
mate.
we go. So that you just can't deflect.
No,
from
no,
DP. You just
don't let
demonstrate
him
you're a
go
complete
yet.
wanker.
He's
You
got to
really are
know
one of
that
the-
he's
you are
fucked
one of
up
the worst
again.
characters on the internet. You
Absolutely
really
screwed
are the
up.
most odious, and you won't answer an honest question with an honest answer because you know you'll incriminate yourself.
You
Anyway,
messed up with the
on that
tangent thing, Rumpus, and you've give us another chance to go over it yet again.
Yet again.
Thank you very much, Rumpus.
You
So
disagreed
we
with
could
my
put that
diagram
with
of
the bit that we
tangent,
did the other
and that
day when
means
we
you
were going
don't
over you with
understand
your
what a
tangent
is,
to
and
horizontal.
You disputed that the gradient of the curve.
It's
at a
on
point
the
is a tangent.
it's on that video. You know, the
You
tangent
don't
to a
agree
horizontal.
that the gradient at a point is a tangent, and which means you do not understand the
Tangent
basics.
to a horizontal. Can you not remember that,
You
Rumpus? It's on a
don't
couple of songs.
understand the basics. If you dispute that the gradient
He's
of
after
the
another
curve
you
point
don't
is its
understand, I think.
You
from
don't
Buster.
understand.
Anyway, I'll leave you with DP.
You don't
So that's quite nice. So I'll leave you keep on that. Just bear that in mind, in future people. This
See you
is
later,
like-
Rumpus. Been
this
good.
Yeah.
Nice.
See
Pop
you,
back at any
see you,
time.
Rumpus.
Next time you
Feel
pass
free
in.
to monologue as much as you like whenever you're here.
If you enjoyed the content, please support On the Level and future projects. Membership subscriptions available now, or come and get involved at Next Level Discord server. Thank you.